Good evening. Welcome back to another episode of Let Your Words Count, where we explore the meanings behind the words that shape our lives. My name is Gary Gant. I'm sitting here with Ethan Merriweather, and you all know our format. You know what we're here to do. So let's jump right into it. And today's word is empathy. Today's word is empathy. Okay. The definition we have for empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. It involves recognizing their emotions, imagining how they feel, and responding with care and concern. Okay? Definition one more time. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. It involves recognizing their emotions, imagining how they feel, and responding with care and concern. So, Ethan, if you want to go through the origin of the word and the history for us.
Sure. So the etymology of the word empathy comes from the Greek word empatheia, which means feeling into. So M means in, and pathia or pathos is feeling. It was coined in the early 20th century and originally referred to the ability to understand art and emotion, but later expanding to human interactions. Got a little bit of history here.
Okay.
So from a historical context, historically, empathy has been a crucial component of human interaction, but it gained significant psychological importance in the 20th century. It says this: Carl Rogers, a leading psychologist, emphasized empathy as an essential for effective communication and therapy. There's a little bit more said here, but I'm going to just stop right there because I think that was pretty good starting point.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
You any other thoughts to start us off?
No, go ahead, man.
All right.
You do.
So, and again, we kind of, we like to share with you all, some of the background and how we've come to some of these topics and why we're discussing some of them, right? So obviously we mentioned in the last episode, we were talking about harmony. And as we start talking about harmony, it both changed the way we were looking at a couple of things, made us think of a few words a little bit differently, and also kind of make us dive more into those prerequisites. Like what do you need to have present in a person or a group of people for true harmony to be a possibility, right? So we're kind of looking at this empathy from that standpoint, and this is, again, kind of an offshoot from last week's conversation, if you will. Not a direct connection, but again, empathy, I think, is one of those words we were kind of talking about as an important prerequisite or trait that a person or a group of people need to have if true harmony with that person or group of people is going to be a real possibility, right? The ability to recognize that somebody else has been harmed and hopefully go, and this is, I'll kind of maybe start this thought off and then kind of toss it over to you, right? One of the things we were kind of talking about here, we got another one of our brothers here, with us. We kind of, discuss these words a little bit before the episode starts. And he asked the question, well, how do we differentiate between sympathy and empathy? And as we, great question. And as we kind of start diving into it and discussing it a little bit, and sympathy, I think, is more that surface level. You've lost someone. I'm sorry to hear that you're hurting. Feel better. Have a nice day kind of thing, right? And you move on from that person without really spending a lot of time thinking about how they're hurting. You've expressed some condolences, and not to insult it, but maybe some even surface level response of, I'm sorry you feel that way, feel better kind of thing.
Right.
And again, it's not that the words don't mean anything. It's just your level of connection or identifying with their pain kind of stops there. That's sympathy. Whereas in contrast, empathy is, I want to understand the pain or the feelings that this person or a group of people is having. I want to do more than just say maybe true words, I'm sorry for what you're going through, feel better. I want to go beyond just giving you some words of comfort or saying something that kind of is encouraging or the typical thing to say, and go a little bit further in, okay, you're feeling this way. I want to understand how you're feeling. And I think we need to kind of talk about why that's a good step or necessary step or what that builds. But what are your thoughts, E?
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. I was thinking about the last episode was harmony, right? And when you really focus on harmony, I like the fact that the prerequisites that you're talking about are looked over,
Right.
are not looked at all the
Right.
way.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I feel that we throw a lot of words out there without truly defining
Yes.
the impact.
Right.
Okay, the words sound good and everything, but do you really consider the impact?
Right.
Do you consider where your current status is when you are thinking about that person?
Mm-hmm.
Like when we brought out, like before the show started, the word sympathy came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking to myself, like, man, they very close together, you know.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it's interesting how we interchange words, but with that interchanging of those words, you're not really hitting home the essence of that word to that person,
Love
to
it.
that hearer.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so the question, should we, in my mind, this is kind of what I was thinking, should we choose empathy all the time, or should we choose sympathy all the time?
Great question.
You see what I'm saying? So
Great question.
that's kind of the thought process that I have. To me, now that we're on this journey of growth, and harmony is like the focus of everything, I'm starting to choose empathy more than anything, because I really want to understand and like ask the right questions to allow that person to resolve their issue.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not going to be able to do it.
Right.
And that's another thing is, and I think we'll talk about this, and I'm gonna hand it off to you. One thing that we were thinking about is the feeling of someone. A sympathy is kind of like you said earlier about the surface level, right? But do you want to just stop at that surface level?
Right.
You know what I mean? Let do, and I think society, since it's by design.
Right.
I think it's by design in some type of way that we willingly accept a sympathetical
Sure.
type of mindset instead of more compassion.
Right.
With the a key component of what empathy is. So that's kind of where my thought is. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. And I think that, just shameless plug here, right? But, our we did a song release here a couple weeks ago. If you look on YouTube, is an easy place to do it, or anywhere else you stream music. Spare a Rhyme by DMF. And that song, right, is very much about empathizing with somebody. We kind of talk from the perspective of a vet that's been maybe disabled in some way and is looked over rather. If somebody passes by him in the street and he's in need, or the perspective of somebody that maybe is homeless or needs time with somebody just to get some help or whatever, and they can't seem to find that. So that song is very much about empathizing with people. But you asked a great question: to what extent? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think we have to acknowledge this, right? And this is again why, in my mind lately, like preventing harm to other people has been one of the dominant thoughts in my mind for a long time now, right? Because both being aware of when we are potentially doing harm to somebody else, and what efforts you have to take to prevent harm from being done to somebody else. So as we talk about harmony, and again, the kind of weird entry we had into this is, why does the word harm show up in harmony, and realizing that you can't really achieve harmony if you can't be honest and talk about past hurts or things like that, and allow a person to kind of fully express that and explore it and feel whatever they feel. But you bring up a good point. Like if I'm talking with somebody and this person is, let's say I'm in a good state, I'm having a great day, wake up feeling energized, and I'm going about my way, whatever, my business, and I'm loving the day. And I happen to come across somebody who's not in a good way. Let's talk about, there is an element of sacrifice, right? Because if I'm having a great day and I pass by somebody who's down, I might say I want to protect my energy and my well-being and my mental health and everything else, and maybe I want to keep it surface and kind of keep some distance there because I'm in a good way, and I don't want to be where they are.
Yeah.
And it's like that word that you said, right? If I'm being empathic, I am trying to imagine the pain that person is going through in their shoes, in their body, from their perspective. Empathy means I'm trying to identify with that person. I see this person hurting. I want to sit here and I want to give time to trying to understand the hurt or whatever that they're feeling and understand that better.
Yeah.
But if I'm having a good day and I come across somebody that's not, that's a sacrifice. Right? That's saying I'm going to forego my period of well-being and of mental health and happiness. I'm going to maybe let that pass for a little bit in order that I can sit and try to empathize with the pain this person is feeling. So there is an element of sacrifice there.
Yeah.
There's an element of giving of yourself to the person that you empathize with. And I think, we need to discuss, why would I do that?
Yeah.
Right?
Man, I think that's a very, very, that's a challenging thought.
It is, bro.
I don't like it.
I know. But right. Facts, man.
No,
Facts.
I'm serious. Like
Yep.
The thing is, what we're talking about right here is truly, it's bending your.
I love the honesty. Go ahead,
Dude,
bro.
I mean,
I don't like it.
Yeah, because what it does is it challenges me a little bit further.
Yes.
What it does is open up a door for further growth.
Right.
That I see that I lack.
Yes.
And so I started thinking more and more, about if you were feeling good and you're taking on a burden,
Right.
that somebody else has,
Right.
or I'm trying to get my thought together with this, right?
All right.
Because it was interesting. I'm gonna read this real quick,
Okay.
right? So check this out, listeners. This is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So it says this. It says balance with self-awareness and emotional boundaries, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the key is when we do walk out the door and you see someone in a certain way, how do you gauge the balance? You know what I'm saying? Where you're absorbing, you feeling it, you just like you said earlier, your spirit or the power that you have or the energy is almost absorbing, or how can you turn that into looking beyond your own self, right? And man, I don't know.
No,
I'm gonna let you
good.
go.
You good. No, it's
I gotta
deep.
get my thought. I gotta get my thoughts
It's
together.
deep, bro. But I think you're bringing up the right kind of question, right? Because and this is what it comes down to. This is the focus of why we're doing things like this, right?
Yes.
This is the human experience. I walk out the door, I'm on 100. I'm feeling good, energetic, good day. Everything is going right for my morning. I have a great day lined up, and boom, I turn the corner, and there's somebody who's crying. Somebody that I know. Somebody I can't just walk by and act like I didn't see you. I turn the corner, somebody I know is sitting there in pain, and they make eye contact the second I turn that corner and I see that person. You can't walk away from that.
Yeah.
Right? And you have to confront it. Now, you have to, I think it's necessary to explore the fact that there is, again, this word we always talk about, is there a more positive or negative feel to a word? This is one of those words that I feel like is positive because you're trying to help understand and identify with what somebody else is going through, eventually with hopefully the intent to make them feel better. But there is a danger.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, that I don't like it. That's what I'm saying, because go ahead, bro. I don't want to cut you up.
Just real quick. So there's a danger in over identifying or dwelling too long.
That's it.
In where that person is. We have to, the balance. We have to be able to gauge how much do I give? How much do I identify? To the point that it can be of benefit to them without becoming a detriment to that person because I'm enabling them to stay in the bad place that they're in, or that I take on so much of that burden that it starts to harm me. It's already a sacrifice to say, I can maybe empathize with this person a little bit and it's not going to do damage to me, but if I stay in that place too long, it may. Mm-hmm. So I think that in being real, we have to confront that possibility. And like you said, approach empathy with a balance of making sure I'm giving enough that it can try to help that person, and that I don't give so much that I'm taking on harm myself within reason. There may be times where in order for you to empathize, you got to give a little bit of yourself maybe to the point that it hurts a little bit.
Yeah.
There may be times for that, right?
Yeah.
But we have to have that self-awareness, like you talked about, that right-mindedness enough to say what's the right amount and where do I stop, and have to kind of turn back and do some self-care at the same time, right?
You know, when you was thinking, or when you was talking there a second, I started thinking about how it's a high percentage where partiality can come in.
Yes,
Right.
definitely.
So
Interesting.
So when you said you saw somebody that you know around that corner, you won't necessarily have that same feeling for a stranger.
Right. Right.
But the whole idea is to engage that stranger as if you've known that stranger for a long time. You know what I'm saying?
Think of how it blesses that person to do so.
Huh?
How it blesses that person. if you do
Exactly.
so.
And,
Yep.
and think, oh man, see, this is deep, right? Right. So when we to so the sympathy is having pity, and you recognize that this person is going through something,
Right.
right? But not necessarily absorbing the impact in
Wow.
some type of way,
Wow.
right? But empathy is absorbing the empathy. So this when you're
I love that.
is there a false empathy, and is there a true
Bro.
empathy? So the true empathy would say, it don't matter what happens to me as long as I see that you are empowered right now. You understand what I'm saying?
I love it.
And I think that
Wow.
that is kind of what we're talking about here, is truly use empathy the way it is defined. And let us become that. Because if you bounce back and forth to empathy and sympathy, I believe that there's an opportunity for partiality, and we don't want to live in a world of partiality, but balance. You know what I'm saying?
Say more on that. So
I forgot what I said.
No, the opportunity for partiality, if you live more in
Oh, yeah.
sympathy than empathy.
Yeah, so when you look at when you have empathy and sympathy bouncing back and forth, right, like that, right, there's a chance that partiality can exist,
Right.
And we don't want to. But that's the reason why balance comes in. You see what I'm saying? That's where I believe balance and self-awareness comes in when we are properly defining these words. Like to me, if I could pause for a second and think about my thought, right? So if I truly want to be an empathetic or empathetic person, right? 100% of the time, right? Is that possible?
And is that healthy? That's the other side of it. Is it possible, and is it healthy?
But that goes back to your thought
Right.
you said this earlier about the dangerous part. But
Right.
I'm gonna let you go ahead and talk, man.
You good, bro. You good.
Yeah.
No, because I think this is deep. So I think we have to be honest about, and again, for me, just as my mindset has been addressing times and ways in which people can be harmed and how do you prevent that has been my focus on the things I've been writing, things I've been putting up on my channel lately. You know, just my mindset has been on preventing harm, especially when somebody is being harmed by somebody that they can't overpower and they can't escape it. You know what I mean? So I think that we have to be very honest and upfront about the benefits, right? Again, if I'm having a good day or I'm in a good position, why does anybody that's in a good position ever give of themselves to help somebody that's not? And I think we have to, again, kind of go back to this human experience kind of thing, right?
Yeah, that's
I mentioned to you the other day, right? Sometimes my Facebook feed comes up with these wildlife things because I tend to stop and look at it when they happen, right? When I see them. And I saw one where there was like a lion, I think it was the male lion was on like the neck of a gazelle. No, a warthog. And as that male lion was biting the neck of that warthog, and I'm just thinking like, okay, this is the jungle. This is the law of the wild. They're gonna eat other animals for their own survival and well-being. And I would like to think that, okay, you kill that animal, you break its neck, you stop it breathing, whatever, end it quickly, go on and do your thing, and then let the pride eat. But it's not what happened in this one video. The lion was on the neck of the warthog. The warthog was squealing, was moving, trying to get free. And then the other lions came and piled on and started ripping that warthog apart while it was still squealing and wiggling around and everything else. And I'm thinking as I'm looking at this video, like I would view that as cruel if it was a human being. Because if you are going to consume them, if you have to end that life for your sustenance and your well-being, at least wait until they're dead where the pain and the suffering is minimized, because we're human. That is what I would like to think is the thing that makes a difference between a human and an animal, is that capacity for compassion. If I'm going to destroy this animal for my family to eat, let me at least make sure it's quick, as painless as possible. And we call it humane. So I kind of think of, what are these benefits of empathy? What are these benefits of this trait that humans have that sets us apart from animals? And why I think I look at people that don't have empathy the way I do as almost being, I don't want to say animalistic, but it's just, it kind of dehumanizes a person that can't feel empathy for somebody else. We have to look at the benefits of it. It's a conflict resolution thing. Empathy can help build a connection to the person you're empathizing with. And I think once that connection is built by a person seeing, wow, you are really giving of yourself, your time, your energy, whatever, to try to understand and sit where I'm sitting. Once that connection is built on empathy, that starts to build trust.
Yeah.
So going back to harmony, if we're going to have harmony exist and be real, it has to be built on some kind of empathy that a person that's sitting across the table from you, that you're negotiating with, or that you're in a relationship with, whatever, has the capability to understand you can feel pain. They can recognize and be honest about when you are, and identify with that pain enough to say, I felt pain before as a human being. I don't want my pain to come back, let alone if there's something I can do to prevent your pain, I'd like to do that as well. There has to be that prerequisite of a person that wants to resolve conflict, that wants to connect, that wants to build trust and help lessen the burden of other people for you to really have harmony come out of that. So,
man, that was a great analogy of I remember Paul, the apostle, said this in Galatians. I believe it was Galatians, about not devouring one another. I forgot how the scripture go.
I love it.
I was looking for it a second ago, but
be careful that you're not devouring one of another.
Yeah, with the arguments and different things like that, which we, especially in certain circles, we do that very well.
Wow,
as
very
humans.
well.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that, I really believe like God's been dealing with me in many ways of listening seasons.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? Like really taking note and taking a step back and listen. And genuinely listen.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not to fix another person's problem. Because I think that's what a lot of times people vent, right? And that's one of the words we haven't used yet, right? But I think a lot of times people vent, but they're not really looking for a solution.
Very difficult for me to deal with, bro. I'm being honest, right?
Go ahead, man.
I'm not trying to cut you off. I'm just saying that is a very realistic place that people are, and I find that difficult because I like to try to solve problems.
Yes.
And I don't like to be in a problem or in a bad place for a long time. You got a solution, give it to me.
Yeah.
No matter how it hurts, offends me, whatever, give it to me. But there is a lot of people, I think, that just want to be heard and don't really want to have or hear a solution. Yeah. So I didn't mean to cut you off, bro. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. Because I was thinking about that I know we're talking about empathy, but it's crazy how two words popped up in the midst. We talked about sympathy, but the latter word was apathy, right? So when we can get to a point where apathy actually exists and empathy is no longer present.
Did you give you have the definition for apathy?
Yeah, I got it. Oh, you want to do it?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm gonna just do a quick one, but you can get the further one. The further one, this for apathy, everyone. Apathy is a lack of interests, enthusiasm, or concern, right? So when you can't when you bring up a word like harmony and apathy exists, there is no way harmony is going to exist. It's no way empathy is going to exist, because apathy is I would call it
A trade of psychopaths.
Schizo. Yeah,
It's a trade of psychopaths.
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
Apathy. No, I'm not cutting you off. Go ahead, man. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so I was just thinking about like it's funny because when you have empathy, is you may be looked at as a psychopath. You know what I'm saying? Because man, you crazy for doing that, being so nice to that person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the whole idea is
You're doing too much.
You're doing too much now, and then now you becoming some type of but that's far from the truth, right?
Right.
But like you said, this is the awareness that we got to have, like within us when we're utilizing and functioning in these glorious words like this. If a person has like, do you really want to live your life with an apathetic type of mind?
Interesting.
Do you really want to wake up in the morning, you see that person, around the corner, and you have apathy towards them? So many people in this life, by design in some way, have more. That's the reason why I was saying, like, society trains us to have an apathetic mindset.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? Society does that. But and this is one thing that I think is crucial. I will say, the more I read the words of the Lord Jesus, or what was written of his words, is the compassion.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It didn't. I never saw a apathetic word coming out of this man's mouth. Right.
Right.
You know what I mean? And sympathy, whatnot. No, I don't think it's sympathy, because his actions showed by the healings. You see what I'm saying? And I think that is the approach and the mindset that we should adopt. You know what I mean? So for my thought right now, closing for and we can continue this conversation, but for me, for my final thought, so to speak, is recognizing and ask the question, how much of a percentage do I want to have as apathy in me? How do I want to walk? How much of percentage?
Apathy or empathy?
No, apathy.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
So you're saying we have to have some percentage of...
No, that's a question you should ask yourself. And the question should be zero.
Okay, got you. Right, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm with you now.
To me, because the reason why I say that is, to me, I've learned to look at the dark side of things. So put like this, with harm and harmony, you gotta address the harm. You see what I'm saying? So the more you look at the dark, the chaos, the chaotic side of things, then you got to say to yourself, like, it has to be a resolution to this. And then by that, just like you said, by nature you are a person that solves problems. You're gonna figure out a solution.
Right.
A person that's, to me, a person that is schizo, so to speak. And I'm not trying to talk about schizo people, man. This is just the example, is a person, or insanity, is doing the same thing. You know what I mean? What are they? What is the same?
Doing the same thing over and expecting a different result.
And it's just like, just calm down. Let's figure this thing out, right? But I digress. I think empathy should be 100% in our hearts.
I love it.
But balanced self-awareness and recognizing the intent of others at the same time.
I love it.
While you're gauging the intent of yourself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's kind of like...
Wow.
Yeah.
And the example that you gave too made me think of, the other instance of, somebody touched the hem of his garment and stop, I felt virtue leaving from me. I think that's that kind of mindset too. Like, if I wake up, and this again,
very good,
in me hammering myself to think about harm to other people and how to prevent harm to people when I have the ability to. When I look at a statement like that, I try to put myself in the mindset of, if I wake up and I'm on 100, high enthusiasm, happy, content, fulfilled, what's in front of me for the day, I'm going to approach it arms wide open, loving it and everything else. And I come across somebody, I'll turn that corner and see a friend who's hurting. I like to think I'm in the mindset of, if I have all this happiness and contentment inside of me and I see this person hurting, maybe it's because I meant to share that burden, to empathize with that person, Going back to that saying, that quote we saw from, we talked about from, I think it was either Rings of Power, I think it was, or maybe Wheels of Time or something, whatever. But a burden shared is either halved or doubled depending on who you share it with. If I am approaching this person that's hurting and they're in a low spot and I'm in a high spot, sacrifice, being willing to give of myself, have some empathy to their situation, actively listen, identify, validate their emotions, and having the self-awareness at the same time, not to go to the point that I hurt myself, but to be of that mindset that if I woke up feeling this good and this person woke up feeling so bad, maybe I can share that burden and give of some of my happiness to that person for them to feel better, for them to be built up, for them to be comforted. You know what I mean? And that's what I think, like that feeling virtue go out from you kind of thing. It's like, let me feel some of my goodness going out to help somebody that's not feeling great right now, to try to help them be built up and help them be better. And I think that's the kind of mindset we got to have. Again, going back to harmony, empathy is a requirement. It's a necessary trait. And if you find somebody that's apathetic, for me, I run. Not run literally, but I'm keeping distance because I'm trying to be in a peaceful mindset and looking for opportunities to reduce the harm of other people. And an apathetic person can't do that.
Yes.
And if you have an apathetic person in a position of power, that's a dangerous, dangerous situation, because especially people that have some kind of power and influence and the ability to affect the lives of other people, empathy has to be a prerequisite. It's dangerous to have somebody that's in a position of power with no empathy, because they can just do so much harm to other people and they won't stop. They won't stop to give the time to recognize that they're even doing harm, because there's no interest.
Yeah.
If they're doing okay, that's good enough for them. So that's
like,
it for me.
It's like that lion.
Yeah,
or that tiger you said, it was a
lion.
Like they'll hold it.
Yep.
And I think that's that point of submission itself, you know what I mean, gives them a more drive to do more. You know what I mean? So yeah, and Susan Pryor, I agree with you. You know, apathy equals no emotion.
Yes.
You know, and empathy, emotion.
Right.
And I think we need to talk about this stuff more.
We do, bro.
We really
we
do. That's the whole point of this program.
For
right?
sure.
So I don't know if that was your last thought.
I'm good, man.
I'm good too. Bro. I think that no, you're good, man. I think we have to have these conversations more.
For sure.
Everyone, love you. I'm so happy that you joined this evening. Hey, when you get a chance, like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you want to know when we start. Okay,
that's right.
That's at 7 p.m. on Mondays. All right, we're trying to be consistent with this thing so we can help educate, teach, and if you have input, share with us too, so we can learn. If you have some words, share with us so we can talk about it. All right.
All right.
We're signing out. I'm Ethan Merriweather.
Gary Gant.
God bless you.